All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Jeff Frick here, coming to you from Anaheim, not the home studio, for a little something different. I came down to the Anaheim Convention Center, right across the street from the happiest place on earth, to come see Atlassian and their Team 25 event. I think there's 5,000 people running around the convention center, and we're excited to have our next guest. You know him as Dominic Price. He's been on before. Dom, great to see you. What's your official title? Work
Futurist.
I should know
Best
that.
made up job ever.
I should know that. So I was sitting in on your session yesterday, and I have lots of great notes I want to jump into. It was all about building a great culture, right, in the workplace. So one of the first ones, TTV.
Time to value.
Time to value, which is also often said time to money, or excuse me, time to market. But what I wanted to share with you is Craig Barrett, when I worked at Intel, he said, no, it's time to money.
Yeah.
So when you think about time to value, time to market, time to money, how do you accelerate that? Help people accelerate that?
So the honest answer is, I think the mistake we've made in organizations recently is when we said time to market, we did the easy things fast and we left the hard things.
Isn't that just the human way?
Yeah. And so what's happened is we've got a whole lot of things out to customers and then gone, they don't value them, they don't want them, but we were fast, right? And so what's happening in a lot of businesses right now is this curiosity. What do our customers actually want? What do they value? What will they happily hand over money for? Because they get so much value from it, they're happy to spend. So I think time to value is like the time to money moment. It's like, there's no point me shipping something if no one's going to use it.
Right.
So the difference for time to value is I have to intrinsically understand the wants, the desires, the needs, the problems of the person I'm delivering to, which is different to, here's a backlog, I've shipped something and I'm done.
Right. I'm the product manager, and I'm so proud of my new baby that
I've shipped a thing, right? And so time to value requires more curiosity. It also requires you to work differently across the organization. So instead of getting to Friday and celebrating shipping, you have to then wait 2 weeks, 3 months ago, how's the customer using the thing we gave them, and do they value it?
Right.
It's a different question, and often a quite confronting answer.
Yeah, I think that's one of the unreported benefits of a subscription model. Because if you just buying a perpetual license, maybe every year you got to justify the extra 15%, but if you're paying every single month, you've got that engagement, and it also forces, as the vendor side, you got to keep delivering every single month.
It's a great forcing function. But it's funny how, essentially in the last 5 or 10 years, a lot of the senior leaders I work with, I'm like, you've inadvertently created so much urgency in your business that you're busy doing stupid things. So you're urgent, but you have no purpose.
Right. Not a recipe for success, no. All right, I want to go to another one of your topics, which is learning velocity.
This is my favorite.
And a friend of mine, Bill Schmarzo, he once said that scale learning is actually more powerful than scale economics, which is pretty profound because we know how powerful scale economics are. But you talked about scale learning and trying to expand it and accelerate it and spread it out. Share some of your thoughts about what it's all about.
So essentially, just imagine there's two types of organizations in the world. One that's very accepting of changes happening in their environment and around their world, and they see those changes, they take insights from them, and they use those insights to course correct, right, to stay relevant. The second organization is ignorant to what's happening outside its four walls, and is like, we have a plan and we're doing it regardless. So they have no learning velocity. They're not going to learn because they're not listening, they're not curious. They might ship fast, they might ship good. They might ship something that seemed like a good idea, but they've forgotten to listen to the market. They've forgotten to listen outside their four walls. So I have a belief, I don't care if I'm right or wrong on this one, but I have a belief that learning velocity, the ability to take an insight, apply it, course correct, and redeploy something different, a different product or a different service, that is a positive differentiator for any business right now, because every industry I work with is up against competitive challenges. And if you learn 1 degree faster than your competition, I think you can win.
Yeah.
So it's not what we've been talking about for a few years, this execution muscle that everyone was concerned about. It's not delivery. It's open your eyes, open your senses. What can you learn and how can you apply it?
Yeah.
The irony is, when I talk about this to business leaders, and when they get honest, which is sometimes over a glass of wine and sometimes in a quiet room, they're like, oh no, we have all the insights. We do nothing with them. Most businesses
even
I work
worse,
with,
right?
Well,
That's
what I mean.
even worse.
Most businesses, it's not I need more data. It's I need more permission and freedom to use that data to course correct. And they're nervous to course correct because what you have to say is the plan we built, Jeff, was wrong. Learning velocity means saying the way we thought this was going to happen was wrong. We have to admit our mistake and our fragility to forge a new path.
Yeah.
If we're never going to admit our mistake, we're never going to learn.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was just in Leslie Martin's, I was looking up Leslie Martin's session from Udemy. She said they even have 1 day a month that they give everybody the day off to learn, which is pretty amazing. And, most people, it's like, here's the tool, here's the tool, here's the tool. But we don't actually spend the time to help people get the most out of the tool.
So, mate, this is where the world gets deeply ironic. So me and you go to a whole lot of conferences like this. And the average conference you go to finds an elite sports person. We had Jensen Button, we had James Vowles from Williams Formula One team. They put them on stage and they tell you about elite performance in a sports team. And none of us sit there and go, hang on, the real difference is you spend a lot of time training to then do.
Right.
And in business teams, we spend all of our time doing and no time training.
Right.
So the one lesson I always take when I listen to an elite sports person is I need to invest in my learning, my training, because otherwise I'm just repeating the same version of me and I'm not improving.
Right, right.
So that 1 day a month, it sounds indulgent, but you're like, that makes sense. You've got 12 opportunities a year to improve how you work and course correct. Yeah, that should be the norm. Like, when can we make that the standard that we all adhere to?
Right. And how much of that, how many other projects do you have that you invest at least that much time that don't have near the yield?
Yes.
That don't have near the yield. All right, so another thing that you talked about is head, heart, and hands. And storytelling. And as much as it's about features and cost benefits and trying to deliver satisfaction, how do you package that in such a way that people are going to be more receptive to it? And you guys even have a person who's in charge of storytelling. You have the coolest titles of any company.
It's funny because you're a natural storyteller, and not only are you a natural storyteller, you're great at getting other people to tell their story, right? Which is itself an art form. In my world in Atlassian, we have a whole lot of people that default to fact. We have a lot of engineers, a lot of high IQ, highly intelligent people that see the world as black or white, right or wrong. And so when that comes to change, those people will often say, hey, Jeff, we need to change. And you're like, and? I'm like, well, we need to change. And you're like, no, where's the story?
Right.
And so the model we've used internally for a while with all of our teams and even our sales teams and our marketing teams is, if you imagine a world of head, heart, and hands, head is the logic, right? If we make this change, we get 70% more of something, right? Some people really love the numbers. They love the logic. The second part is the heart, the emotion. When we get that 70% increase, here's how it'll feel. And you're like, ooh, like now we're getting it. It'll feel better. You'll feel faster. You'll feel like you've got more mojo. You'll feel more effective. You'll feel more valuable. You're like, I like the feeling. So if I do the 70, that's the feeling. You're like, cool. The hands is, what's the action? I now need you to do X and Y and Z to achieve that. What we find when we roll out this training in Atlassian around storytelling is people have one of those they default to. So I hate to stereotype, but let's do it. I'm not going to get fired. Our engineers default to logic. They want to see the noughts and the ones.
Right.
HR and marketing default to heart. How does it feel? You're like, oh, God. And our program managers are like, give me the action, where's the task?
Right.
Well, you're like, cool. I get that you default to one, and effective story needs all three. So what we're learning to do is to package up our stories. And the reason we're doing this is every single day, every leader, every worker in Atlassian has to influence someone else to do something on their behalf. Every single day. And if you do that through storytelling, it's really effective. The alternative is you do it through favors. No business can scale through favors.
No, that runs out of juice pretty quickly.
Jeff, can you do me a favor and run that report? Can you do me a favor, man? Favors don't last, but storytelling drives permanent, persistent change.
Right. So another big theme here is, and you talk about in your thing, is the user manual.
Yeah.
And also kind of the documenting of goals. And I think, one of my favorite lines, right, assume makes an ass out of you and me. And there's way too much assumption going on. And then also making sure that those goals are aligning to that bigger objective. And as somebody said, and that's not the work product. That's not the output of what we're trying to get done. So share a little bit about, you invest up front in sharpening the saw, you invest in front of defining these things.
Yeah.
to get a whole lot more efficient when you're actually in flow?
Yeah. So great question. So again, imagine you're a new team forming together. The temptation is, we've got some goals, let's start the work, right? The quicker we start, the quicker we finish, right? And you're like, maybe not. So one of the things we do is we say to our team, well, let's assume you've never worked together, right? Dom, Jeff, Mary, and Rajiv are going to work together. The danger is we all assume how each other works, because you work like me, right? Surely you all work like me, but you don't. You've all got different backgrounds, different customs and cultures and rituals. So the first thing we do is the My User Manual exercise. My user manual is, if you buy me from an electronics shop, how do you use me? How do you consume me? If you buy a new TV, go to the user manual. You hire a human, no user manual. So we document it and we tell that story to each other. Here's how I like feedback. Here's how I communicate. Here are my values. Here's how I work well. Here are my working hours. Here are my working conditions. And when you hear that, you're like, you're different than me. How cool.
Right.
I can work with you now. So that's step one. Step two is we build a social contract. It's called a working agreement of how we're going to work together. When are we going to meet? How do we meet? What does the meeting look like? How do we communicate? Is it Slack, WhatsApp, Confluence, Jira? We build all those rituals on purpose in advance. Because again, I have my way of working, you have your way.
Right.
If we glue them together by accident, it's really clunky. You think I'm doing it, I think you're doing it, we fall out.
Right.
So we build that social contract of how we're going to work together as humans. Then we start the work.
How do new employees kind of take that when, they sit down and you're like, okay, it's day one, we're so excited for you to join us now. We want you to fill out this profile about how do you like to work. They must be going, what? No one's ever asked me that before.
So they find it originally quite confronting, then quite confusing, and then it doesn't take long for the penny to drop. There's that, I can now remember all the circumstances where I didn't have this and how it caused thrashing, arguments, rework, fallouts, not because anyone was malicious, because I just didn't know. So a prime example, there was someone who I worked with a few years ago, and we just always fell out to the point where we went out of our way to jeopardize each other. We were like, I will take you down. And we've been not working well together for a while, and one day we're in the same leadership team, and we did the My User Manual exercise. And this lady went first, and she's like, feedback. She's like, I hate receiving feedback in the moment because it feels like an attack. I like feedback after the event in written form with an example. I will digest it, and whenever I've digested it, I will respond to you. And I was like, so then it's my turn. I'm like, I like feedback in the moment. And if you give it me after the event, I feel like it's an attack because I can't respond. So we were identical people, but we were the same, like every other area of My User Manual, same. So we were 95% aligned, just as humans. But the 5% difference literally made us hate each other as employees of the same company. And you're like, so we're like, hang on. If we can solve that, if we can come to a compromise of how we do feedback, which we did, we then became the most formidable duo. And it's so bizarre because I'm like, I remember saying to this person, I'm like, I honestly have been going out of my way to jeopardize your career. And they're like, same, I've been doing that to you. I hate you. And I'm like, no, I hate you. And then you're like, you do realize we're more alike than we are different. But the one difference stopped us from being effective. Once we found, and it wasn't that we changed, we just compromised. We agreed a mutual way of working. Once we had that, we're like, we're unbeatable. Because the diversity we brought, the challenges we brought to each other made us better together than we were apart.
It's just so bizarre, right? That you can just have a 180-degree different attitude about what's the best practices for feedback, and you both can be completely right in the way that you like to take it. Okay, so another exciting thing, I want to congratulate you on your Atlassian Experts Unleashed podcast.
Yes, thank
Got
you.
through the first season. So since we're talking about feedback, I couldn't help but think of a segment with Patty McCord, who specifically said, I love it. She said, I think you were talking about somebody who wanted to change. Maybe it was this guy. And she's like, well, did you ever tell him? But you expect him to change.
When she dropped that line on me, she broke me that day.
And the other thing that she said was, for feedback, if you give it positive feedback in the moment, that person will be doing that same behavior later that day. So I got a bunch of names from your guests. I want to get your reaction, but let's just go ahead and start with Patty.
I mean, what an incredible human. I've known her, I know you've known her for a long time as well. She's just a gift because there's it's just a life experience or a stage of life or an age, or there's something that's happened to Patty where she can look me in the eye with a smile, deliver a line that completely breaks all my foundations, but in such a kind and caring way, because she wants me to be a better person.
Right.
She just does not suffer any BS. And so in that example, I was drinking wine with her one day and having a good old bitch and complain and whinge about a colleague, and she just looked me in the eye and she's like, and how did they respond when you told them that? And I was like, I haven't told them that. She's like, well, you expect them to change. I was like, oh God, you've done it again. Like, you've broken me. And she just makes me a better person. But I always have like, it's like an AI robo agent. I've got a little Patty voice in the back of my head that every now and then I'm in a situation, I'm like, what would Patty
do? That's a good
What
one.
would Patty do? Because it normally makes me a better person. It normally enables me to pay it forward. It normally means I have the confronting tough conversation early rather than late, and it's easier rather than harder. And I do it through curiosity and generous assumptions, not I want to change you or make you a better person. I just want to have a chat. So she's helped me in my career. And that episode I loved. There was so many gems in there where I'm like, we can all try and be a little better at how we operate.
Yeah, and she was fired up in that. She was fired up. I think she was fired up when I talked to her 2 years ago. So I think she's always fired up. All right, let's shift gears to another one. So Andy Walsh telling this great story about basically putting people outside of their comfort zone. And the specific, I think he says he takes them out into the wilderness and watches their senses basically turn back on, because as people, we have to kind of deaden everything so we can pay attention to what's going on.
In society, we're muted and pre-programmed.
Right.
And he loves to take people out of that comfort zone, genuinely, not the like LinkedIn comfort zone, which is a weird sort of meme, but like genuinely out of their comfort zone, but then show them their natural survival instinct, their natural reactions, and just gets them to hone it and train it. So there's a few examples he shared. There's one he shared on the show, but one he didn't share on the show, which is one of my favorites. He took a whole lot of elite athletes, and one of them was a Red Bull fighter pilot who does all the stunts, and they'd been trying to do this specific stunt. And they realized through all these MRI scanners that the thing holding this pilot back was fear. So they had an assumption.
A Red Bull pilot had fear in there.
Everyone has some level of fear. So they had a hypothesis that you could just manipulate the fear response in a human and then get them to redo this stunt. So what they did is, with this particular person, they did a whole lot of research, and this person was petrified of snakes and spiders. So they built a giant dark room, pitch black, full of snakes and spiders. They put all this monitoring equipment on this person. They went, you have to navigate this room and come out the other end. It's a labyrinth. You have to get through the labyrinth in a certain time, but you also have to keep your heart rate and your physiological responses under a certain level. So they race through, because it's snakes and spiders. All the levels are too high. Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. After like the 8th time, this person's just controlled all their responses. They put them straight in the plane and they do the stunt.
That's amazing.
Now,
You almost like wear it out, right?
Yeah,
You just wear out the fear.
But the fear grows back, right? Because we adapt to our surroundings. So all they did was say, in this false environment, I can retrain your response, and then we can swap the environment. When you're back in society, thankfully, the human body, that we regrow that response to fear. Otherwise, right, we'd all be mavericks. So
Yeah.
it's just basically the game he plays is, his view is the brain is completely moldable, and we can all mold our brain to be subtly different people if we choose to.
If we choose to.
If we think we're hardwired, we're rejecting the opportunity to change and improve.
Yeah. It's amazing. I've been watching some YouTube of some of these deep free diver guys that go down on the string.
Yeah.
One guy, I can't even remember the number. I think it was like 160 meters
It's crazy.
on one breath of air. And it's like
It's
4.5 minutes.
It's unfathomable stuff that they do. But
it's totally
his
getting
argument is,
control of their biology.
people think it's a purely physical, and the role of the brain is huge in those things.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's why they all have a mindset coach. The mindset coach, if you're a tennis player, your mindset coach isn't helping you swing a racket, but they're helping you mentally be prepared for that game.
Right. All right, got another one for you. Ben Crow. Living in the gap or living in the gain? What do you say?
So Ben was episode 1. I've known him for years. He talked to me about that the week before I got married. And I remember lying in bed with my now wife, and I was like, just had this conversation with Ben, and something we need to talk about. It's like, what? And I was like, instead of me telling her, I just showed her the clip. And I'm like, how much of what we do you think is in the gap or the game?
So explain it to our listeners that missed that episode. What's so the essence of the...
It's a simplification. There's two ways of living life. If you're living life in the gap, you're permanently looking at what you've not got. And then I'm a public speaker and I do an event with 5,000 people. I'm like, 5,000 is not enough. I wanted 10,000. You do an event with 10,000, you're like, that's not enough. I want to crack America. You crack America. It's not enough. I want to, like, you always want more because you're living in this gap. And if you're living in the gap, you forget to recognize and reward your success. Right? You're literally spiraling down.
Yeah. Because you're never achieving. You're never getting there.
I've always confused that with ambition. Right? So I had a different word for it, which is the wrong word. Because then when Ben was like, if you're living in the game, you reflect back, you look back over a year, over a quarter, over a few years, and you celebrate what you've achieved, how you did it, the things that went wrong, the things that went well. And he's like, and I'm like, but then you're not ambitious. He says, no. You're still ambitious, but you're rewarding and recognizing yourself for what you've done. And you're then backing yourself to achieve the next thing, but you're doing it for you, not for some weird extrinsic motivator.
Right.
So whether I have 5,000 people or 10,000 people in an audience, he's like, why does that matter to you? And you're like, it doesn't.
Right.
He's like, if 50 people hear your message and they change how they work, are you happy? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah.
That's great.
So the gap is this notion that you're chasing the never-ending dream. The gain is going, you're still really ambitious, but you're accepting that you aren't defined by your success. You're defined by how you live life, your morals, your values, your purpose, your relationships, not by how many people like your Facebook post.
Right. All right, another one for you. I'm just going to drop the name and you tell me first thing comes to mind. Genevieve Bell.
Genevieve is someone who inspired me to understand AI from a human societal standpoint, and who showed me that there is a blueprint for how we can do this morally right if we look at the past. She has researched cultures that are 60,000 years old to understand how technology change has positively impacted and negatively impacted society. I fear that some people think that AI is a brand new thing and they don't realize it's just another technology advancement.
Right.
Her blueprint for how we can do this equitably, fairly, inclusively, and with morals is written down in there for us to use if we choose, or we can go make all the same mistakes we made in the past.
Let's hope we don't.
Let's hope we don't.
Yeah, I saw Social Dilemma. It scared the piss out of me.
Yeah.
All right, now this is one of yours, although I think you stole it from somebody or somebody gave it to you. Argue like you're right.
Listen
like you're wrong. That's great. How can you do both?
It's really easy. I wasn't doing both. I used to argue like I'm right and listen like I'm right. In which case you listen for the confirmation. Or you listen to the person and you're like, cute, you're wrong. It's just a matter of time till you realize you're wrong because I'm right. I got it from Dan Pinky. At the same time, he gave me a challenge, which was less conversion, more conversation.
That's a great one.
And it's the same flavor, right? With argue like you're right, listen like you're wrong. He's like, Dom, you're a 6'4", middle-aged white guy and you're an alpha male. You're always going to put your point forward with vigor and excitement and huge energy. Do that. And then shut up, open your ears, close your mouth, open your ears, and invite the room into challenge.
Right.
And if you listen like you're wrong, your job is to evolve the idea. If you listen like you're right, you're like, this is my project, my baby, and I just have to get this out.
Right.
So you stop listening for feedback and you shit regardless. So I've used it a lot to put my idea forward with passion and go, cool, Jeff and Mary and Roger, like, what's your view?
Right.
How would you do this? Which persona are you thinking about? If you own solving this, how would you do it differently? And by inviting them in, I get the diversity of opinion and the idea benefits.
Right, and I think you even said in one of the segments that it's actually a win.
It's a
win if you suddenly get changed in a new idea that you didn't know before. And I think Andy Jassy from AWS says great leaders are not afraid to change their mind based on new data. So don't dig your feet in, don't dig your heels in quite so deep.
But if I'm honest, like younger Dom didn't do that.
Yeah.
Younger Dom was like, I need to be right. Because I thought being right made me smarter, made me better, made me higher chance of promotion. And then certain life experience, you're like, I don't need to be right, but nor can I be right all the time. So I think one of the most powerful phrases I've used with my teams in the last few years is, I don't know. When they're like, here's this challenge we're up against, how would you solve it? I'm like, I don't know. We can go and solve it together. I don't know the answer. Right. And I'm not going to pretend I do, because that's really dangerous.
So enabling. Oh my goodness. Opens up so much when you're not afraid to just say, I don't know.
Me and you between us could list off 1 million leaders that we've worked with that would never use those words.
Right.
They would guess at the answer because they think as a leader, their job is to be right. You're like, no. Your job is to facilitate an outcome.
Right.
Not to be right.
Get the most out of your people.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Atlassian. So you said you've been here for 12 years.
12 years, yeah.
A lot of action here on this Rovo.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty exciting news, but it's almost kind of like this dream that we've always had about like Google searching inside the enterprise to find information.
Yeah.
You guys are finally kind of putting it in play. The technology's got in place, and you've got the knowledge base underneath. So talk about how you guys have approached the AI both internally, but then also bringing it to market and making it an integral part, not as a substitute for people, but as your trusted your coworker. Actually,
it's funny. What part of the approach that I've really enjoyed. It's been hard, but I've really enjoyed is we're like, let's not do AI for the sake of AI. Let's find meaningful use cases. So what that meant we had to do is to stop. We had to sit down, go and talk to a whole lot of customers and go, what is it you're actually struggling with? And they're like, honestly, we have no context about what we're doing. We really struggle to discover information. And you get all these use cases, all these stories, and you're like, that's a great AI use case. If we can do that through AI or magic or a unicorn, it doesn't matter how you do it. What's the problem that has to be solved?
Right.
And so that, and the way agents and the agentic workforce came about was people saying, we have a whole lot of jobs where we're reliant on humans and they're really manual jobs. And it's quite high friction and lots of thrashing, lots of handoffs. Surely there's a better way. You're like, again, let's build an agent to help you do that, right? So what we did was we went use case. Once you go use case, you start looking horizontally across the organization rather than up and down. So instead of optimizing the silo, I don't want to make marketing more efficient or sales or legal. I don't want to make them more efficient. I want to make the organization more efficient, which is horizontal. And so everything we've done with Rovo, with Atlassian Analytics, with all of our AI ventures is to go, how do we make teams and teams of teams working across an organization more effective? Number one, search, give them context.
Right.
If I've got the right data in front of me every morning, I've got a better chance of doing my job. And I'm free to do my job. Like, how good is it when all you have to do on the day is your job? No politics, no reporting,
searching,
firefighting.
Finding. Well, just the finding. I know I saw that thing, but somewhere. I can't remember. Is it a DM? Is it, where could it possibly be? So I think Annie Dean and her thing said, I forget that millions and thousands of hours, or like a third of the time, people are just looking for information. Yeah. And I thought Andrew Boyagi was pretty interesting. He was talking about the use cases for devs, saying not necessarily for writing code, they're pretty good for code, but if I have a non-English speaking person that needs to write up a summary, just a lot of this kind of really interesting, kind of creative uses. Yeah. I got the next great feature for you. You're kind of halfway there. I see in that last session, when you pop up your computer, it says, use your AI, like get started with AI first thing in the morning. The next thing you need to do is, what should I be doing? So of the thousands of potential tasks that I could do right now, what's my highest leverage?
If you imagine a feature called next best task, is that what you want?
Yes.
Interesting.
Might be coming in a release near you.
So the reason I mention it is...
that's it, right?
I'm allowed to share this. There's an organization I was working with late last year. The CTO ran a pilot with a whole lot of teams. Half the dev teams used AI, the other half didn't. He wanted to see a compare and contrast. Original data looked really good. The teams using AI, the stats he got were about 30%, 30, more productive, whatever that means. No one's got a good way of measuring productivity, but he's like, they felt more productive. All good. So I went back to him, I'm like, what was the actual net benefit? Like, what happened to that productivity? Is it you got better product to market faster? Is it that you got more insight? Like, did you make more money? Like, like, productivity is meaningless to me. What happened? And he said, give me a couple of weeks and I'll come back to you. And he called me up and he's like, I've got a really embarrassing answer. He said, in the teams where we were 30% more efficient because of AI, we had a 50% increase in meetings. because people didn't know the next best task to do.
Yeah.
So they gave them the time saving. They didn't know what to do with the saved time. They filled it with the lowest value task.
Because that's what we want to do, right? I mean, it's really easy. Just I could just be dumb and delete shitty emails that I don't need to pay attention to. I feel like I'm busy, but it's not necessarily, it's certainly not productive.
So now when I'm working with senior execs and they say we want to roll out AI, and I'm like, right, I'm going to gift you an AI right now that doesn't exist, that saves all your team members 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, whatever. What are you going to do? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you know, like when I give you that saving, do you know what you, as a leader, what you're going to want to do with it? And they're like, no. I'm like, right. We need to think about that now. Because that time's going to come, and let's not just fill our time with stuff. Let's genuinely fill it with more meaningful work. And that could mean wellness, mental health. It could mean we shorten the working week. It could mean we do more complex tasks. We have more engagement in work and we deliver more value. Or maybe it's a combination of all of them. But if we don't know, we will fill it with crap.
We'll fill it with crap, right. Even get up and take a walk, right? It might be the right answer. You've been sitting down for 3 hours, you might need a refresh. So again, back to kind of Atlassian, big changes. Right, used to be 2 CEOs, now there's only 1. Spending a ton of money here on Formula One. There's a lot of tech companies that have little logos on Formula One cars.
You got a big logo.
There's not a lot that have the big logo on the top and straight across the chest. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about the change of the company as it's continued to grow up and continue to evolve. And, you know, it's not a little startup with 2 guys working out of Sydney anymore.
It's fascinating. In my 12 years, the one constant, complete cliche, but it's just constant change and evolution. And so one of the things I think we do well is, it sounds a bit weird, is subtraction. I think we're quite good at stopping things that used to work, that won't work in the new version of Atlassian. We delete them. And then we add in new experiments, new explorations, try new ways of working. And F1's a prime example. If you tried that a few years ago in Atlassian, I don't think it would have worked. And now we're like, actually, this is going to work. It's enabling us to have some amazing enterprise C-suite level conversations. The thing I'm most excited about isn't, I mean, I geek out on how many versions of the Atlassian names on the car. The thing that actually makes me excited is the team of 40 people that we've parachuted into Grove in Oxfordshire, into Williams, to build how they work. Like, we are changing how the 1,100 people in Williams work every day.
Wow.
So we are their technology partner, and we believe that will advance how they work. How they work will advance the cars, and the cars will advance the driver, and it pushes them up the grid. We believe that.
And there's nothing that measures it like Formula One in terms of marginal improvements on the on the edge.
And so it's a real, I mean, originally it felt like a geek out, but then you're like, hang on, is there a better test bed? If we believe that our product and our ways of working can amplify high performance in a team, F1.
Just start shaving seconds, right?
Let's put our name on it and own it. Let's all in and own it. And we're working so closely with our team. Even seeing, I spent the weekend down in Melbourne at the F1, the first F1 of the season, with the Williams team, seeing how they're now collaborating compared to how they were before they were using our tools and our processes. They're like, hey, this is night and day. I'm like, you can feel it.
Right.
I haven't got a thermometer to measure it, but you can feel it in how they collaborate, how fast they make decisions, how fast they prototype, how they access data and goals, like how they communicate status and updates and engage and connect. All that's happening. It's going to result in the car getting further up the grid. Not tomorrow, but eventually.
Right.
And so seeing that live as a comparison is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, wild. So I got to ask you on the real estate side, because we get involved in real estate a little bit. You guys are building, I believe, like the largest wooden, you could correct me.
Largest timber structure.
Timber structure. How's that going?
It's going really well.
When is it supposed to open?
Yeah, at some point. I think it's like 20,
so you get little bits about it here and there.
2026, 2027. I drove past it the other week and I'm like,
how tall is it going to be?
It's shooting up. It's a substantial building. It's going to be one of the biggest buildings in the area. It's a regeneration of an area of Sydney that's kind of been neglected for a few years. We're there. There's a few of the tech companies going there. We're trying to create like our maybe 2025 version of Silicon Valley. How do we get a tech hub where we get bright minds together from different organizations, where we get that spark and the friction? How can we create space for innovation, for startups, for scale-ups? How can we use our knowledge and IP and pay it forward to others? And how do we create a hub that creates a second order effect of restaurants and cafes and other businesses?
Right.
So we're building that, and we're building it in the most sustainable way we can. We are breaking boundaries and rules along the way to make it somewhere where we're like, this is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, let's not just create someone else's building, let's create our vision of it. So even throughout the design process, our sustainability team embedded themselves in the design process and said, here's our guardrails of what sustainable looks like. We're not builders, we're not architects. But if we want a better future and a better world, we have to care about the climate. So let's do this responsibly.
Right.
And the builders are like, you can't do that. I'm like, let's try it.
Let's try it. So biggest surprise, biggest takeaway in the last couple of days, or something that, kind of you didn't expect?
A subtly different approach is, I think I've been warmed by most people that I've had a conversation with haven't been challenging the content. They've been asking about application. They're like, you know what you just said made sense. Help me do that in my organization. And I love that switch. I feel like as a business society, we're done whinging. There's been no complaints. There's been no division here this week. There's been a lot of, I see the world differently. It's not right or wrong, but how can we help each other progress the thing we're trying to progress? I feel like the world needs a little bit of that right now.
Yes.
And so it's been really warming for me that whatever the industry or the background or the role or, I don't know, people have just come together and gone, you know what, we can help each other. Not in a weird, let's sing Kumbaya together type way, in a genuine, like, I can help you, you can help me. So after my session yesterday, a lady from the company came and asked for help. We spent about 20 minutes together on a whiteboard. Like, here's some things you can try in your organization. And then at the end of it, I was like, by the way, like in 30, 60, 90 days, let me know how you're going. She's like, well, I was like, I'd love to know.
Yeah, that's great.
I genuinely want to know how you get on. It might not work, but like either way, I want to know.
That's super. Well, Don, it's really a treat to finally get to meet in person, not separated by the Pacific Ocean and the international timeline. Yeah. So congratulations to you and the team for quite an event.
Mate, thanks for coming along and joining the madness.
My pleasure. And make sure you guys catch him on Experts Unleashed. It's a really cool podcast. He's Dom, I'm Jeff. You're watching Work 20XX. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening on the podcast. Take care. Boom, we're out.
You're a master at this shit.
Better be red. Still better be red.